It didn't begin with chaos. There was no explosive headline, no viral moment that instantly demanded attention. Instead, it started quietly. The kind of situation that lingers in the background before anyone fully realizes it has taken shape. When Tasha K began speaking about Claressa Shields and Papoose, it didn't feel like a defining moment at first. But what followed proved that it didn't need to be loud to become significant. Sometimes the biggest shifts begin in silence. Before her voice entered the conversation, something was already building. It wasn't obvious. There were no confirmations, no clear statements, just a growing curiosity. People had started noticing small details, subtle interactions, moments that didn't fully add up but didn't feel random either. On their own, they meant very little. But together, they formed a pattern that became harder to ignore. For Claressa Shields, this kind of attention felt out of place. Her reputation wasn't built on controversy or speculation. It was built in the ring, through discipline, focus, and undeniable dominance. She had spent years proving herself, earning respect through performance rather than conversation. Her image reflected that, controlled, determined, and locked in on her own path. So when her name started appearing in discussions unrelated to boxing, it created a disconnect. People weren't just curious, they were surprised. On the other side was Papoose, whose image carried a different kind of weight. His name had become closely tied to loyalty, largely because of his long-standing relationship with Remy Ma. Over the years, he had been seen as someone consistent, someone who stood firm even during difficult times. That reputation wasn't just part of his public identity, it was something people genuinely believed. So when uncertainty started surrounding his name, it didn't just raise questions. It challenged everything people thought they knew. At first, the situation remained relatively quiet. People weren't rushing to conclusions. They were watching, waiting, trying to see if anything real would come from it. But curiosity doesn't stay quiet for long. The more people paid attention, the more conversations began to grow. And those conversations weren't built on facts alone, they were shaped by perception. And perception is powerful, because even without confirmation, people begin forming their own versions of the story. Versions that feel real, even when they are based on incomplete information. That's how narratives begin, not always from truth but from interpretation. Everything shifted when Tasha K stepped in. Her delivery wasn't cautious or reserved. It was direct, confident, and intentional. She didn't need to provide every detail. What mattered was how she said it, the tone, the certainty, the implication that there was more happening beneath the surface. And that's what changed everything, because people don't just react to information, they react to energy. And when something is delivered with confidence, it carries weight. Suddenly, what once felt like speculation started to feel more serious. Not confirmed, but no longer easy to dismiss. From that moment, the conversation escalated quickly. Social media filled with reactions, opinions, and breakdowns. People revisited old clips, reanalyzed past interactions, and started connecting dots that may or may not have been there. It's strange how perspective works, how the same moment can feel completely different when viewed through a new lens. For Claressa, this brought a different kind of pressure. She was used to pressure, but the controlled kind, the kind that comes with competition. This was something else entirely. It was personal, unpredictable, and impossible to control. Every move became something to analyze. Every silence raised questions. Every response risked being misunderstood. And that kind of attention can be overwhelming. For Papoose, the pressure built in a quieter but heavier way. When your identity is tied to something like loyalty, even the smallest doubt can feel significant. Not because it proves anything, but because it introduces uncertainty. And uncertainty spreads fast. It doesn't show up as direct accusations. It enters through questions, tone, and subtle shifts in how people talk. One comment turns into many. One observation becomes a wider discussion. And suddenly, people begin re-examining everything. Old interviews resurface. Past statements are compared. Even neutral moments start to feel meaningful. The public doesn't just focus on the present, they revisit the past, searching for patterns that support the narrative they're building. And once that starts, it's hard to stop. For Papoose, that meant existing in a space where every choice mattered. Speaking out could fuel the situation. Staying silent could do the same. There was no neutral position. Every action became part of the story. That's where the real pressure comes from. Not one moment, but the buildup of many. The constant attention, the ongoing speculation, the feeling that your name is being interpreted in real time by people who believe they understand your story. Meanwhile, Tasha K's role continued to shape the narrative. Her involvement didn't just amplify the situation, it redirected it. What started as quiet curiosity became a full public debate. People weren't just watching anymore, they were choosing sides. And the internet responded the way it always does: fast, loud, and divided. Some people believed everything immediately, others questioned the credibility and pushed back. And many found themselves somewhere in between, unsure of what to believe but still deeply engaged. Because uncertainty keeps people watching, it creates the sense that there's more to uncover, that something hasn't been fully revealed yet. And in this case, that feeling is exactly what keeps the conversation alive. Every reaction adds another layer. Every opinion extends the story. And even without clear answers, the narrative continues to grow. At this point, it's no longer just about Claressa Shields, Papoose, or Tasha K. It's about how quickly stories can form, how easily they spread, and how powerful they become once people start believing them. Because there's always a gap between truth and perception, and that gap can be difficult to navigate, even for the people living inside the story. They may know their reality, they may understand what's true, but the version that exists publicly can become something entirely different. And that's what makes situations like this so intense. It's not just about what was said, it's about how it changed everything around it. Because sometimes one voice doesn't just join a conversation, it reshapes it. And right now, that's exactly where things stand. Unresolved, still evolving, still surrounded by questions without clear answers. But as long as that sense of mystery remains, people will keep watching, keep questioning, and keep trying to understand a story that may be far more complicated than it first appeared.